Hey guys, welcome back to Heiko's Garage. A few days ago I was going to make a short watch mod video revolving around this puppy here, the SD1958V, and I had already pre-ordered a couple pieces. There's a set of snowflake hands and a dial that, at least from first appearance on the AliExpress listing, looked a little bit like a Tudor Black Bay 58 dial, but unfortunately then it showed up with a big old fat Seiko on it. And then after I took the watch apart, I realized this dial is not large enough. So the dial that's in here actually has a dial diameter of, if I remember correctly, 33 millimeters, and the standard kind of Seiko 6105 Captain Willard, that would be a 28.5 millimeter Seiko dial. So this one here is 28.5, fits perfectly on any of the NH line of Seiko movements, but didn't work. So even if I would have wanted a Tudor Black Bay 58 Seiko homage, which absolutely makes no sense, couldn't have used it because it doesn't fit this case. And then I placed an order. I actually ordered 3 dials, and one dial came with a set of extra hands. There again, the snowflake style that is kind of reminiscent of a Tudor style. And so I just ordered those, and literally like 5 days later, those things showed up. This must have been the fastest AliExpress delivery ever in recorded history. You know, from China to Nevada, United States, that's pretty quick. So you can see I am into divers, and I'm into vintagey looking kind of simple black and white divers. My favorite still is my self-built 6105 Captain Willard homage. I picked all the parts. I picked the case. I picked the dial, the hands. There's an NH35 inside. It's a 19 millimeter width strap. I've already tried out rubber. I have a chocolate bar strap. I have ordered a couple bracelets for it, but it just doesn't look right. I don't feel comfortable. And now currently I'm running this leather thing here. Don't know if I like it. But the watch itself, you know, just the whole composition, the size of the dial, the little bit of the what do you want to call it, vintagey color looking indices, and just the overall appearance, this watch is really doing it for me, and I really love it. The double domed crystal on here that gives it this little distorted look. I really love this watch. This is my absolute favorite currently. And then really close second is the Steeldive. Every time I want to have a steel bracelet on my arm, I put this one on, and then every time I have it on, I'm thinking of, maybe you should change the dial on it so that the Steeldive disappears, and then maybe find a double dome crystal for it to make it a little bit more like this one here. But it's a fine watch. It's nice. It's very serviceable. I love it. I like the fully loomed ceramic bezel insert. That's really nice. And then, of course, there's still my old love, the Duro. Casio Duro. I really put that on, you know, if scratches don't matter, because this is a $40 watch, and I really like it. It's very accurate. These ones here, those two, they, you know, if I don't wind them constantly or wear them constantly, I have to set them and then wind them up and then put them on my arm. With this one, I just pick it up, put it on, and it's accurate. But then there is still this puppy. It's standing still, hasn't been worn in a few days. SD1958V. I'm assuming V for vintage. Case-wise, the case shape and the unguarded crown has a little bit of a vintage Submariner, or maybe even a vintage Tudor Black Bay. They do have the Mercedes hand in here, so it's a little bit more like Rolex. But overall, the appearance, the black bezel insert, this is also fully loomed, by the way. Ceramic sapphire crystal. It's kind of a beveled edge, but a flat sapphire crystal. I like the watch, but the part that I don't like is the color. It is too orange to be considered vintage looking. It is too bright orange, and it's printed indices, which I'm not really a super big fan. I guess it depends on which watch it is, but the combination of being so bright orange, all of it, with a little bit of golden accent. The hands are actually gold color plus orange, but you can barely tell that it's gold because the orange is so overwhelming. The dial is actually black, matte black, but everything kind of looks orange because of this overwhelming amount of orange in there. And so before I sell this on eBay and get rid of it, I thought maybe I do another mod on it and maybe I actually like it more. It is pretty chunky with the bracelet that it came with. It was like 168 or 170 grams, so pretty chunky boy. And the bracelet has one big downside. It has male end links, which makes the really long lug to lug even longer. And I mean, I do have a little bit over 7.5-inch wrist, so it should be fine, but it just doesn't conform to the wrist really well. So that's why I took that off and put a kind of a tropic strap on there. This is pretty good. I also have a little bit more like a diver style rubber strap for it. It's actually another Duro strap that I just modified to go in here. Yeah, but I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. I want to modify this so that I like it better and that I might not have to sell it, because overall the shape and the unguarded crown, this vintage style is there. It just needs to be modified a little bit. All right, let's just do it. I have my little sticky ball here. Last time I tightened it close, I don't think I used a case tool. I just used the ball. Another downside of those Steeldive watches is this really harshly engraved case back, which always rubs off the skin on my knuckle here. You can see how polished that is. It's just from Steeldive watches. The same story is with the SD 1970. It's just too harsh. It's too rough. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with it. Probably just put it on a whetstone or get some polishing wheel on my bench grinder downstairs and polish it so the edges are not as sharp. All right, here we go. It's already loose. Yes. See, the thread is not very smooth. Towards the end, it doesn't want to unscrew further. Had that last time too. So I already started filming and then I realized, oh, the dial doesn't fit. Wasted time. So that's why we're starting over. We're starting over. Here we go. Come on. This watch hasn't been worn much. So it's really clean. We're not going to mess around with anything other than that. So now we need to get the crown and the stem out of the way. Of course, it's still screwed down. I forgot about that. Here, let's try manual focus. Boom. Manual focus. So swing the rotor out of the way. Maybe you can hold it with your finger caught a little bit. And then let's zoom in a little more. That's the nice thing about a 16 to 250 millimeter lens and not having it right close up to the watch. So I have a little bit of some working space. So here is this little lever thing. I use the round end of my spring bar removal tool. Let's see. Yeah, it needs to be pushed inwards. And then you just push on this little end here and pull on your crown and stem and you have it out. Easy. So then what I like to do is just grab the watch, put my case cushion on top of it like that and flip it around. And now, if we're lucky and the watch is not too tight inside the case, it should just drop out like this. Here we go. So we're going to move this case over to the side, put it right side up so the dust doesn't fall into the case. So here's the watch stupid thing is that I did not set the hands all lining up with each other, which would have been way too smart. So line it up mostly. It doesn't need to be perfect. Now we have the crown in there, but you know, I'm not worried. And now we're going to grab a Bergeron dial protector. And now we're going to grab my Bergeron. I'm really proud of those because I used to always just buy cheap imitation tools, but then I realized you have to spend the money, get the good stuff. And we're going to lever off the hands all at once. Go under our hand, if we can. So I magnified a little bit and got a little closer to the thing, or else I can't see anything. So get under our hand and just keep levering. The dial protector is going to keep the dial out of the danger zone. In the second hand, are we off? Oh yeah, we're off. Here we go. Off. Oof, that wasn't really good. And then I have those really nice Vitas pliers, Vitas tweezers. Let me get a container for the bits. Here's another plastic bit holder. Of course, I don't want to lose those parts. I will keep them if I ever plan on passing on the SD1958V on eBay. I'll put the original parts back on. So hands out of the way. Then the dial protector can go. And pretty much all the NH dials, if they are, you know, factory made somewhere, they are most likely just pushed into a ring on the outside of the movement. So you just get something under there without scratching the top surface, without scratching up the movement itself, and just get it off like that. Ooh, ha ha. That's funny. So this is just a dial holder ring, and here's the actual movement still attached. So that's great. Yeah, we gotta get between the actual movement outer ring, which is plastic, and the dial, and just separate those. So there, at some location, there are 2 pins stuck in this plastic ring here on the outside. All right, so here we have the dial and the hands. Let's park those over here somewhere. So now we can rest our movement back where it belongs. And now we can figure out whether or not the dials that we have will actually work. So one is 30.5 millimeters and one is, I have too many bits lying here. So let's move the movement into a movement holder for a second. So this is an NH specific movement holder. This is the actual ring that makes the movement fit in this large case. So an adapter ring, so to speak. So now we're going to put the movement out of the way and this adapter ring out of the way. And let's put the case on here. We're going to grab my calipers. So there is a chapter ring in there, which is really just a spacer ring. It doesn't have any chapter ring on it. So, and the chapter ring is 30 millimeters. The dial we have is 30.5. So that should work. But now the question is, are we doing the Tudor Black Bay, homage, clone, whatever, or the more generic look. And then the other option was, this one here, 33 millimeters. Let's measure the original Steeldive just to verify what we have here. I think it is 33 millimeters. Yeah, this is 33, exactly. So this generic one with a bright orange numerals. So the bright orange numerals, this one here, would work flawlessly perfectly, I'm assuming. And the more Tudor-esque would maybe fit. So let's put the case out of the way. The dial has like a gazillion of feet on there, and the original only has 2, and now we just need to find out which feet to retain and which ones to cut off. It's actually relatively simple. So the one at 130 and 730 roughly are the ones that we need. 130 and 730, and everything else we're just gonna lop off with my little flush cutters. I will do that off camera here because I don't want those little metal pieces to fall into the dial. Okay, so give me a second off camera, please. So I'm already back. Only took a few seconds. So the 730 and the 130 dial feet are still on. The rest I cut off with really inexpensive flush cutters here. These Plato, they were only a few dollars. They do the job just fine. Most of those dial feet, they are not like stainless or anything. They're not in any hard material. Very simple to cut off and to get relatively flush. And then since we have the crown and the stem at 3 o'clock, should be pretty simple here to just line it up and push those dial feet right into the little hole that is in that plastic outer ring of this NH38. Make sure you wear finger cuts so you're not leaving fingerprints on your dial. Okay? So we have the dial on. Now we can put some hands on there. Let's look at the different choices, okay? So here's that set, and then here is the set that showed up today. Let me move the microphone out of the way a little bit. All right, guys, so just for your sake, I swapped microphone. It's a little bit more sensitive. It's a small diameter condenser microphone. The other one is a dynamic microphone. You have to be a little closer to that one. So I hope we can keep our distance now, and I can get a little closer to the merchandise here and can actually see what I'm doing. So let me get the second set out of its plastic bag prison. I hope they're gonna come out. Sometimes static electricity built up in those little bags is enough to keep them in there indefinitely. Well, that's AliExpress shipping for you. So, and then let's open up the other package here as well. They're so stuck to the plastic. So, I don't know. They are probably all not super great quality, and they probably all have a little bit rough edges. And I don't want to install them. I just want to look at them. Yeah, here we go. Just the hour and the minute hand. The rest I don't care. Here we go. So, focus. There. What do you guys think? Do they look identical or what? I bet you they come out of the same factory. I would say we're gonna go with these. This one here, I think I saw more rough edges than on this one. So let's just stick with one set. Focusing on the thing. All right, now we're gonna do, since this is not a date complication movement, we don't have a date window, it really absolutely does not matter in which orientation. You just have to have the hour and the minute hand pointing at 12 o'clock at the same time, pretty much. But you don't have to line it up with any kind of date click over function. It's actually pretty simple. So let's start with, I have way too much stuff here on my desk, by the way. Let's start with the hour hand, and I hope I'm not going to pull the movement holder too close towards me. The difficult part about working on watches is, for the sake of the camera, you want to keep it away from your face. For the sake of actually seeing what you're doing, you want to pull it towards your face. And yeah, that's the complication here. So let's put a hour hand, just gently pushing it on with my hand installation tool here, all freehanded. And then I usually check 700 times if the hand is really parallel to the dial surface. And you also, of course, especially with the starting with the hour hand, you have to be able to put the hour hand far enough on its pinion. Is that the term? I think so. So you see me tilting it. So I'm looking at it from like a 90-degree angle to the hand to see if the hand is parallel to the dial. But then you also want to turn it and look along the hand and see if the dial is maybe canted sideways a little bit, which in this case here it is, and which you would be able to see potentially when you're actually wearing the watch, and therefore you have to correct that a little bit. If you have one of those hand push down little contraptions, tools that have a perfect straight down push function, maybe you don't have that issue. So now we have the crown and stem in here. So we're just gonna we're gonna check one more time. See, it's still a little canted. Better. And now we're going to turn this to 12. And then just leave the crown and stem pulled out, or else your watch will keep running and potentially change at least the minute hand, the second hand, they move relatively fast. Now it's canted the other way. My goodness. I want to get it acceptable level of accuracy here. I mean, installation precision. But you also don't want to bend around on those little pinions too hard, or else you might bend stuff. And then you can throw the NH35 away, or 38. And now, you know what? Every time I correct one direction angle, then I'm messing up the other one. What is it? Why is that? All right. Our hand, especially with a big old pedal that is called a snowflake hand, you want to kind of get it, just so. So now we have our hand pointed at the 12 o'clock. Now we're going to grab the minute. Ooh. Pick it up and lift it onto its pinion. The second hand is always the most difficult. Then sometimes I tell you, static electricity is not your friend. Sometimes those parts, they are so charged that they want to stick to everything that they get close to. Your tweezers, your hand installation tool. So now you have to get the minute hand pointing at 12 o'clock as well. So you can try to get the hand just started ever so slightly so that it just gets seated on the minute hand pinion there. And then you can sometimes, without breaking stuff, maneuver it around and point it where you want it. And then if it doesn't fall off in the process, you can then take your hand installation tool and push it deeper onto it so that it doesn't come off anymore. And that is really the tricky part, to get them hands installed without breaking stuff. Push, push, push. And I do a little bit of a kind of a rotational movement so that if there is something hanging up, that it maybe decides to slip on. You can open up those holes in those hands with brooches. I have a set. I had to do that before. And see, now the problem is that something has moved here. Oh, we're pretty good. So 12 o'clock is 12 o'clock with both hands, more or less. And now again, we're doing this looking from all kinds of different angles so that the hand is not canted one way or the other. And it is parallel to the hour hand below and the dial. And then you can run them over top of each other and make sure they don't interfere with each other. And then we're grabbing the most difficult part, which is the second hand. The little pin that it goes onto is just so tiny. And now I have to literally switch to some more magnification or else I just can't make it happen. And for a second, I'm going to be really quiet and I hopefully don't stick my head in front of the camera. You can also, some people are so skilled, they can put the second hand on the pinion with one hand and push down with the other hand. Let's see if we can pull this off. Some people are so skilled. Smaller hand installation. I like the cheap tweezers here with the plastic ends. They are really nice and parallel to each other. They have good gription. They don't scratch up hands. Okay, I got it on there. Balancing it just with it's not pushed on, I'm just balancing it on there. And now you have to get the second hand pushed on without bending that pinion. And that is, I tell you, not easy. The pinion is very thin and small, and sometimes those cheap hands are really tight. Oh, don't know like it. No likey. And then if you start pushing too hard and then you slip off or something happens, take a quick breather. If you feel like you get too shaky, take a breather. Step away from it for a second. So I took a quick little breather and I decided to not mess around with that second hand, and I just used the one from the other set, which are, more or less identical. I just wanted to see if that maybe slides on a little easier, and that seems to be the case. So they are identical in look and color, rose gold all around. And I just got him pushed onto the second hand pinion a little closer, a little deeper down, so that it's sitting a little closer to the minute hand. Yeah, this is as far as we're going to go with this. And now we're going to stick it into our case with a quick little puffer from my little puffer here. And we're going to see what that looks like. And then if I feel really brave, I'm going to take the hands off one more time and replace the dial and put the more generic bright colored dial in here. So now we have that. So let's, what do we need to do now? What do we need to do? So we need to get the dust out of the way and the dust off the hands and the dial. So I mentioned that there is this adapter ring. There's way too much stuff here on my desk. My goodness. Okay, make space. We're working here. So this adapter ring goes in here. Now we have to get the crown and stem removed. So you have to lift the movement out, turn it to its upside down position. And now this is all free-handed here, which I don't like, but we're just going to dare to do it. Move the rotor out of the way. And then the crown needs to be pushed in to its running position, so to speak. And then you need to push on this little lever and pull on the crown with your other finger. And now we have it out. And then we're going to try to, you have to start on the side where the crown goes through, because, or the stem goes through, because there's this little tube. And this little tube needs to fall into this little gap in this adapter ring. And then we got to make sure that the movement is all the way in the case, which seems to be the case. Needs to go back in there. And that will kind of orient the movement a little bit. And then you can turn a little bit as you push it in so that it falls into its natural position. And then let's screw it down. That gives this whole thing a little bit stability. Then we can do a little bit more puffing here on the back side. And put the case back on. And just gently by hand. And now we can take a look at it. Okay, let's set some time. How about I put this thing back in the middle of the picture here. Yeah, it's lining up. That's amazing. That's lining up. So watch reviewer's favorite time is what, 10 minutes past 10? There you go. And then let's give it a little bit more wind. So what do you guys think? Let's zoom out a little bit. Out. Does that work? The minute track on the outside of the dial is centered in the opening of the watch case. So that's good. That always helps. Is this too generic? Is this too wannabe Tudor Black Bay with the snowflake hands? Or, you know, and now I just realize if I would switch to this type of dial, I don't know if a rose gold color handset would go with this dial, because the indices are silver outline. See? You guys didn't say anything. Let me check if I have some other hands lying around. Yeah, guys, disappointment. It looks like I don't have any other silver colored hands. If I would have a set of hands that, you know, similar to the Seiko style here on the 6105 homage, I would have tried it. But I don't think with a rose gold color snowflake hand, this is going to jive with this here. And the golden hands that came off the original here, the SD 1958V, that's not going to... Are they really gold? I can't even... There's so much orange in this loom. I can't tell. What the heck? What do you guys think? That doesn't go, right? I'm correct, right? So now it comes down to me buying another set of hands of some other design that will go with this dial. And then the question is this going to go into the SD 1958 that we just more Tudorized, or are we going to leave it like this? So I think for the time being, for the evening, I think I'm going to stop here and leave you guys thinking about it. Tell me what you guys think about this mod going from, you know, bright orange to the proper rose gold white combination. I will stare at it. I will wear it that way a little bit and simmer and think about it. And we'll put all the original parts carefully in some storage. And then I'll get another set of hands and maybe another case and maybe another movement. And we're going to do something with this. Hey guys, I just realized that we could almost do a comparison next to each other. So there's the old dial and the old hands kind of stacked on top of each other. And there's the new stuff. And I think the rose gold with the white, it just has a little bit more contrast, more... Yeah, it's not tone in tone in tone. See, I didn't even know that the hands are actually silver. They're silver with orange. It's so orange under the blue anti-reflective coating on the sapphire crystal that you can't really tell what color the outline of the hands is unless you get magnification out. I don't know. Do we have a little bit too much light here? Less light. How about I'll turn off all the lights and see what the color of the loom is. I have a flashlight here in my pocket, little O-light. I'm gonna charge this up here really well. And then I'm gonna turn off all the lights in the house. Let's light it up one more time. The only light that's still on is my monitor, and my computer case has some blue RGB. Yeah, it doesn't look too great on the dial here at least. But at least it's all same color. So it's, yeah, this outside ring is actually supposed to be a little bit more of a bluish color. And then on the inside now green. The hands don't really. There is huge surface with applied loom, but they don't seem to be picking up much light here at all. So I really don't know. You know, it's all cheap parts, AliExpress, so you can't expect the world. So the hands are going to be dying here the fastest. I was complaining about the loom on this dial and the hands, but I think it really had to do with my flashlight that I was using to charge it. I just went out in the sun. I'm in my garage right now, and it's so bright. It's not even completely dark in here, and it's so bright. So I was complaining about something that was really not an issue. I can still tell that the hands are darker than the indices, but it looks great. I like it. you.